we had a conversation earlier about what happened between Trent Frederic of the Bruins and Alex Ovechkin last night. And Ovi, it culminates in Ovi spearing him, giving him a pretty good shot in an area that no one wants to get hit in. And Ovi got fined $5,000, which is the limit. That's the most you can get based on the current CBA. And I'm fine with that. I would have been fine with going a step further even. But my reaction, Ray, was to go, into the past and think about the old school. And I don't know why Trent Frederic feels like he should be challenging Alex Ovechkin twice in a game. Like, who is Trent Frederic to challenge a legend of the game twice? Like, when did this happen? Because I don't remember guys doing that to Mario Lemieux 30 years ago.
Well, I'm no great defender of the fighting debate or, having the protected muscle around, but that would not happen when we played.
No chance.
Like you would feel their shadow over top of you, like this giant that had just come off the bench. Like if you were to do that, but that doesn't excuse Ovi. Like that should be a suspension. I don't know why the league views this as a fine.
That was more than a flick.
Yeah, he gave him a good shot, but I think he figured it's worth it. Like if I have to police it, quote unquote, myself, I don't care. Suspend me again, but I don't know who you are. I know who I am, and if you come at me again, it's going to get worse.
Where was Tom Wilson? Like, when did he?
Oh, I don't think Tom's too far behind the equation here, Andy.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
They're going to play again, and I don't know about you, but if I were number 11 White, I'd be asking, Trent Frederic, I'd be asking if anybody else wants to trade jerseys for the night.
Yeah.
Ray, this is never going away. I said to Brian earlier, Trent Frederic guaranteed himself a automatic fight every time he plays Washington the rest of his career.
He's a tough kid, too. Like,
he's
tough,
you better be careful because he'll punch your face in.
Yeah, I guess what I'm saying, Ray, is more just, and maybe this was all bogus anyway and was a falsehood anyway. But my understanding is, and you guys can speak to it, you played, was, Mario, Gretz, you don't do that to them. And Ovi, in my opinion, is the modern-day Lemieux, Gretzky, whatever you want to call him. He's been in the league for 15 years. He's a top 10 player all time. He's I'm not saying – kid gloves. Hit him, battle, be aggressive. Challenging him to 2 fights, to me, speaks to a change in the game.
Dude, forget about
Gretzky
and Lemieux. I was on Hartford when I was 19, and Kelly Chase, Stu Grimson, and Mark Janssens was our 4th line. If anybody pulled that with me, they'd have their head beat in. And I was a nobody, 19 years old. It was it was crazy, the change in what you just mentioned has occurred, Ray.
Well, do you remember when it would have been just before you started, but I think he was still playing when Jay Caulfield was roaming around in Pittsburgh?
Yes.
Oh, my gosh, like the guy was a condominium, and he was not there to handle pucks. He was there to look after the big boys. And when he came out and there was something maybe a little offside going on, like it's amazing how the view of the game changed. We played them in a playoff series in '93, and in one period, Darius Kasparaitis decided he was going to take a run at Mario and then take another run at Lemieux or at Jágr. It was chaos, and the only thing that saved that from going into like total pandemonium was that it was the playoffs and the big guys weren't dressed. But I'm telling you, that would have been that day. Like Casper was running around, and we're like, "Oh boy, here he goes again!" And boom, he'd run into him, and that was not a long-term plan. Put it that way.
Yeah, no, exactly. At some point, something is going to happen.
You know what, Brian? I'll say this. I think even the reason why maybe you're talking about it the way you are is because I don't think it happens that often, though. Like, I think that's another reason why we're kind of discussing this. Like, when was the last time you even remember someone doing that to a superstar? It actually doesn't even happen.
You mean today, Randy, right? Andy,
yeah.
Yeah, no,
today.
you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. It doesn't happen a lot. And maybe what I'm getting to also is, like, we don't acknowledge, we in general, how great Ovi is. Like, he is a living legend of the game where, if you go at Matthews or McDavid, they're not at that status. You know, I'm not saying I want to see that happen, but I could.
Ovi might be the
understand
greatest goal scorer of all time.
Of all time, and that's I guess more of what I'm getting to is when I was growing up, it was like go out and be crazy, take heads off, but you don't go out. Mario's different. Like Mario's a little bit different. Gretzky's a little bit different, and I think Sid and Ovi should be a little bit different.
Yeah,
you know?
No matter what you think the rules are, Brian, there's always some players out there who they like. If you pulled Frederic aside on the bench and said, "Dude, you don't go after that Ovi." I've heard players before chirping at other great players, and an older guy would say, "You know what? Just shut your mouth on that guy. Not that guy. Just shut up." But there are some players. They have their own rules, and they don't care what you think. They don't care what the code is. They want to drop the gloves and fight Ovi. That's what they're doing, and they're on their own program, and that's what's in their head, and you're not changing their mind. I told you, if you ask Frederic, he'd probably say he'd do it that way all over again. And there's some guys, if you just stand there and look at Ovi, maybe he grabs you like he did Svechnikov, and he punches your face in. So there's kind of two ends to both stories, or kind of two sides to every story.
And I hear you. And listen, Frederic's he's tough, man. He is a really
tough.
No
kidding.
Like he's he's making a name for himself. He'll be loved in Boston too. He probably knows the market he's playing in.
Oh,
you play tough like that in the fourth line, they'll love you out there. And you know, I don't think it's over. That's for sure.
And at the end of it is that, you know, whether you like what Frederic's doing or not, Ovechkin shouldn't have got away with $5,000.
No, it's got to be more than that. But I think it's got to
be a game. If $5,000 is as big as you can go, then it's got to be a game.
Yeah, that was a pretty good shot.